What's going on, team? Welcome to an episode of the Keep Going Podcast, Season 2. This is your co-host, Luke Wheat, coming out of Knoxville, Tennessee. Before the show starts, make sure to follow us on our socials, okay? Twitter, the Keep Going Pod, Insta, the KG Podcast, and YouTube at the KG Pod. Just a reminder that we are not psychiatrists and not psychologists, just a couple ex-athletes trying to make a difference and end the stigma of mental health. Thank you guys for listening, and let's get to the show.
That keep going moment.
My keep going moment.
That's my keep going moment.
Let's keep going. Welcome, team, to episode 61 of the Keep Going Podcast, Athletes Shining a Light on Mental Health. We're already juiced up this morning. This is your co-host, Luke Wheat, coming out of Knoxville, Tennessee, joined here by Pat O'Malley, Jackie Tripp, and Dana Powers. Pat, where are we coming out of?
You know it, baby. Athletes HQ, the AHQ in McChesney Park, Rockford, Illinois. Happy to jump on this morning. How about you, Jackie? Where are you coming from?
I'm coming out of Plymouth again. Had a Bridgewater game yesterday, and the Bears got the dub. So all good vibes in Massachusetts right now.
At least some Bears team is winning. That's
I was
good
about to say. We need to clarify.
Bridgewater Bears.
The other Bears haven't won since Bill George played.
Yeah.
All right. Jackie, I'm going to have you introduce your boy, Dana Powers, here. We're super excited to have him.
All right, awesome. So this week we have Dana Powers on. So I've known Dana since I was probably 11 years old. He's a former college athlete. He ran track and field at Bridgewater State, coached soccer there. Dana has been a teacher for 11 years. He just moved down to Bluffton, South Carolina. He teaches health and PE, and he coaches club and high school soccer. And I know him from his time as my middle school teacher and coach. So I'm excited for him to jump on today. I'm lucky to have gained a lot of knowledge over the years from him, and I'm excited for him to share it with us today.
Yeah, 100%.
Greatest dynasty in the history of middle school girls basketball.
Yes, let's go.
Undefeated.
Let's go.
Like 20-0 that year.
I know.
And that's we're Jackie, good stuff on the intro. Dana, we always love to get a brave soul who's a teacher and a coach, but also a middle school teacher. I didn't know you were insane, so it's good to have you on this morning.
I've actually switched it up. Living down here now, I'm at a high school now. But yeah.
Okay, there you go. You found the light.
I'll say this, Dana. It's always good, like Luke said, to have a coach on here, have a teacher, have a mental health advocate. Man, this is what we do. So something that we touch on every week is, what'd you do this week for your mental health? So for our listeners, we kind of make this a survival guide for our student athletes, for our families that listen. So what have you been doing when things are going well? What is your game plan, man, mental health wise?
So it's actually, I was actually in a point before. One of the reasons I moved down here was because my mental health was in a spot where it just wasn't good anymore. A massive reason for me moving down here was my mom retired down here a few years ago. My brother's been down here for 10 years, twin brother, single mom. So we're that tight unit. And I just kind of ran myself into the ground back home, working too much, not taking care of myself. Was just in this massive funk where something needed to happen or it was going to get even worse. So that's when I kind of just pulled the trigger and packed up and moved down here. So it's been a massive kind of focus of me personally. Is the biggest things I've noticed myself is if I'm eating well and I'm active, I'm a much better human being to be around and to help others. I know you can read as many studies, but until you stop doing those things and you see how it affects you, and then you restart getting into some of those good habits and you see the swing on the other side. So I know I'm in a good place. I have a board up here where I'm literally track my whole week in review. I have how much physical activity I've done, how much pages I've read, how much time I've spent on a new hobby. And then I have a small win section and a big win section of just stuff that went well this week.
Yeah.
So I try and find little stuff that goes well throughout the week, and then I log it up here so I have that visual of what my week looked like. But if I can get active every day, even if it's just a walk, and I just take some time kind of off a screen and off social media for myself, I'm in a
It's that simple, right? It's that simple.
Yeah.
Simple, not easy. Simple, not
exactly.
easy.
That's what it is.
Dude.
Even back home, that's what's tough about depression and mental health is you know what you need to do and you just can't get yourself to do it. That was the most frustrating.
I was
before I moved down here. I knew I was
morning.
I knew I was slowly wasting away and just getting myself into a worse spot, and I knew what I needed to do about it, and I just couldn't get myself to do it. Like,
Yeah, just a simple thing this morning. I scroll on Instagram for 30 minutes. Like, I didn't need to do that. Like, I found myself, Spencer Ann texted me, my girlfriend, and I was just like, okay, when was the last time she take? It's been a while. When did I send it? And start doing the numbers, and I looked over the clock. It had to be at least 30 minutes. And I was like, okay, put it down.
Yeah.
Go do something else. Go clean the coffee pot. Don't go do something to get better right now.
Yeah.
No, I like that. And Dana, what I wanted to ask you, and I know you've had some transition over the last year or so, when you made the move, what did you start with? You said you have this huge visualization board now. Like, was there like one thing that you pinpointed on, or were you one of those guys that said, I'm flipping the script, it's starting today?
So that's what it was. It was literally, I needed to change. The move kind of happened almost last minute because I got a job like kind of last minute. And I was just like, if I don't take this chance now, then it's never going to happen. So I actually packed up and just moved down here without even fully moving out of my apartment at first. And then I ended up coming back to do that because I was just like, it's now or never. Like, this isn't going to get better. I'm not going to magically find a fix for this. So I need to change something in my life to kind of kickstart a new version of myself. And so I just literally packed up as much as I could, moved, found a weekend to come back to Massachusetts and finish the move, and just new chapter, full in, 100% in.
I'll pass it. But sometimes you got to jump into the deep end to see if you can swim, bro. I love it.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's funny you touched on that because I remember seeing when you moved, Dana. Like I talked to you after the fact, but I remember like I was like, he definitely didn't have this plan for super long because I feel like I would have heard about it. I'm like, I saw you went down there. So how are things going down there at the high school level?
Good. It's awesome. Like so at first I was going to work at one school, and then that actually fell through last minute because of like HR issues on their end. And it was a blessing in disguise because I ended up at like the most amazing high school environment that like I've ever been a part of. It's like, it's awesome culturally. We're about a third Latin American, Spanish, about a third African American, about a third white. And it's just, our admin has created a community where, dude, everyone just looks out for each other. Like, there's no issues. Everyone cares about each other. Teachers support each other. Students support each other. So I ended up in a perfect place for like the things I care about and the stuff that was high up on my list. So no, I'm really happy. It's a great school. It's a beautiful area. Got some awesome people to coach with, and so far, so good.
I think all the teachers out there can relate to the mental health struggle of not having the best admin. They can make or break kind of your school year, and
makes or break.
Man, that's 100%. I found a great team over at Webb 2 years ago, and man, I can totally sympathize with what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I'm glad you found your spot. And you've been doing some coaching on the side as well, right?
Yeah, so I'm coaching for Tormenta FC, which is a club down here. I'm just coaching one team and then doing a bunch of goalkeeper training. And then I'm a coach at the high school as well, in the high school program, kind of helping. I'm going to be helping both teams a little bit, the guys in the girls program, which is awesome because I miss coaching girls big time. But yeah, it's just a great fit. I found like a nice mix right now where I'm still working a lot, but not like I was back home, and I'm happy with my work. So like back home, it got to the point where I wasn't happy going to work every day. I still like to coach, but it was like my day job was something I had to do and didn't get to do anymore. And now I'm at a school where I wake up and I get to go to work, and like I'm excited for it. And you walk in and we're all just supporting each other. So I think I have a nice mix right now, and I get to see some family, which I don't think I realized I missed as much as I did. I got 2 nieces under 6 and a twin brother down there, and my mom now. So I think I kind of told myself too long back home, like, no, I'm okay without him. I can check in on him on the holidays and stuff, but it's a different world now that I'm down here.
Absolutely. I think for me, the last year I was all new classes.
Yeah.
In high school, and so I was teaching. We don't have a book per se, but one of the classes was AP Spanish. So AP gives you a guide.
Yeah.
And I was kind of teaching out of the guide, and I wasn't really passionate about the topics, and so it kind of turned into, okay, this is a day job instead of this is me teaching Spanish. So this year I haven't used a single lesson from last year. Just took all that knowledge I learned from the course and started putting my own twist on it. It's been way better this year for sure.
Dude,
Pat, what do you got?
Awesome. I might have to pick your brain too, because one of my hobbies is learning Spanish. So I've been doing.
Hey, let's do it. Let's do it. Que lo que, papi? Que lo que?
If anybody's going to help you in the Spanish department, it's definitely Luke. I just know Luke has put a lot of work into that one. And when you're teaching someone, as you guys know, as coaches, as teachers, you can help other people, right? Like you could really get that influence out of them. And the more that you do it, the more influence you have on others, of course. What I want to touch on is, if you don't mind, Dana, is kind of your upbringing in the game of soccer. I'm not a soccer guy, so like I like listening to our soccer guests. Talk about young Dana Powers and how you got caught up in this game and athletics in general. How did it become such a big part of your life?
Yeah, so athletics was always part of my life when I was a kid. I think it's because my mom made sure that well, it was also a different world back then. Like I'm going to sound like an old guy when I say this, but we were the kids that were out riding our bikes around and had to come back home to eat breakfast because we were already outside playing.
Hey, we need that. We need that.
Been there.
It's the saddest thing ever when you drive through a neighborhood now on like an 80-degree day and there's not a single kid outside. So my mom always had us outside, like no matter what. So I was playing multiple sports. I played hockey growing up. I played hoops growing up, but soccer was the one that like I always kind of stayed with. So I just loved it. I started playing a little club when I was younger, but that was a different world back then too. There was one team and you had to make it. And if you weren't good enough, they told you weren't good enough. So, and then we had a really good high school team. We lost in the state semifinals my senior year of high school because we had all played together growing up. I ran track as well in high school though. So when it got to the college time, I ended up actually just focusing on running, but loved the game, stayed around the game. Ended up getting really into coaching after college. So started with just like helping my buddy who was running a JV team and who was running a varsity team in Stoughton, Massachusetts. And I coached his JV guys. Just kind of kept building up from there. And I kind of like my story, like that I'm one of those coaches that like made it to a pretty high level without playing the sport in college.
Yeah, 100%. I love that.
Yeah. So it definitely, I'm always been a firm believer that it can help you be a good coach, but it certainly doesn't decide if you be. And then few years ago, there I am coaching college soccer without ever playing it, and we had a ton of success.
I think, and Pat, I think we've talked about this before, Pat. Jackie, you may have been on the team by that point, but so many coaches are like successful coaches are not the ones that excel at the sport because they had to learn how to learn the game.
Yeah, right.
And it just makes so much sense when you think about it. So that's what your story kind of reminds me of.
Or you can just coach people, and the sport is just kind of the avenue or the tool through which you're coaching people. Like my favorite coaching story is the head men's volleyball coach at Springfield College, the winningest volleyball coach in all of college volleyball at any level. He got the job because they needed a coach, and him and another coach played rock, paper, scissors to see who had to coach the volleyball team at Springfield College. True story.
I had no idea.
And he ended up creating the single most winning volleyball team in NCAA history. And he started with zero knowledge about the sport.
Man.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic parlay. Like we were just talking about with the Spanish deal. Like, Luke, no disrespect, man. You didn't come out the womb speaking Spanish.
No, not at all. Not at all.
It's investing in yourself, caring about what you're doing, and then investing in your people. I think that's so strong. And you see some of the best motivators, the best leaders become successful in this game and athletics in general. Jackie, what do you got?
That Springfield coach, that just reminded me, I kind of forgot about that, but I went on a leadership field trip in high school, and we went to Springfield College, and he spoke. And when he walked into the room, and you could tell he was a winning coach, not because of his ego, but because of like his energy. Like he brought this energy in, like he knows what he's capable of, but he's like open to discomfort and learning. And he gave us a whole speech. And then somebody asked him, where'd you play volleyball? And he's like, I had never like really picked up a volleyball. And I think what's good about coaches like that and like Dana and people that know the game really well, but haven't played at the collegiate level is that there's that willingness to learn and understand that like, I'm always going to be learning the next step. Whereas with people that have played the sport that go into coaching, sometimes you run into the issue of, I know everything because I played at the college level. So sometimes it's like their growth stops at a certain point because they think they know everything. Whereas with these other coaches, you just have to have the willingness to learn and grow.
And I think too, they put the right people around them too. I'm sure that Springfield coach hasn't just kept non-volleyball people in his ranks, so he's been cycling people out that know stuff about the game throughout the past couple of years as well. So it just makes sense.
Yeah, and he just knows how to lead people. Like you see it in soccer and other sports all the time. It's like some of the best tactical X and O's guys can't relate to a kid, can't help a kid who's struggling,
Yeah.
can't get people to work hard, can't create a culture that wins. So like they could talk X and O's and tactics and formations with the best of them, but they can't put a team of people who want to support each other together. I'd rather be on the other side and know less about soccer and more about motivating and inspiring people, because one of those is a lot easier to learn than the other.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. John Gordon talks about all the time. You got to put the right people on the bus, but they got to be in the right seats. And
Yeah.
people-driven leadership, man. Like, I'd love to say that we know the most about soccer, basketball, baseball. I really wish that was the case. It'd probably make our lives a lot easier at times. But sometimes adapting and taking bits and pieces from everybody we've kind of met, good, bad, or indifferent, I say this every episode, makes us who we are, and it makes us impactful, and it makes us passionate. And you can tell that we're invested in other people and our players and, lives.
Yeah.
Here's another thing I want to ask, and if you don't mind, if you didn't play soccer in college, we've touched on this, which I think is so fantastic, man, that you've been able to influence people and put the right people in your ranks, in your corner. Who motivated you? Like, who was your number one motivator coming up? What was the influence for you?
Oh, that's a great question. So you always remember those like couple teachers I had. Like my avenue into teaching was kind of a long one too. Like I remember back in high school, I wanted to be a teacher. I was in like Tomorrow's Teachers Club, and it was run by like the best dude in the school, and everyone loved it. Then I went to school and I majored in like exercise science and kind of talked myself out of teaching. And then eventually I had to go back and do it the long way. But you just think about like my mom was always a great motivator, not in the way of like rah rah rah, you got this, more of like whatever decisions you make, I'm here to support you. So take some risks, make some decisions. Like we don't care about money, we don't care about any of this. Like go do what you want to do. And then I had an awesome soccer coach when I was young. He was from Italy. So he came over and everyone was
Shout him out, Dana. I need names, my man. Shout him out.
I'm blanking. I honestly don't remember. I was like 8 years old, but he had just come over. So at first everyone was worried that like he was going to be the guy who knew everything and looked after American soccer. And we had the best year. We had the best times. And honestly, in a weird way, without mentioning names, like I've been motivated by people that I felt like didn't help me out a whole lot either. Like weren't great leaders, weren't great coaches, didn't necessarily care as much as they should. And then the other one's my brother, like my twin brother. Like we always push off each other. We always motivated each other. We always supported each other. So just knowing that like there was always someone there was huge. But I think I'm like anyone, is you look back and you know those teachers and coaches that helped you, and you know those teachers and coaches that you didn't want to be like, and in a way that kind of motivates you too.
Beautiful.
That's reminding me a little bit of Hatton's story, Pat, from a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. I think it's powerful. No, I agree. Jackie, what do you got?
Sorry, I couldn't find my unmute button. No, we talk about this a lot too. My sister and I, we literally were talking about this last night. Back to the coaching thing. It's like if I were to coach, I'd be like this coach we had, or I'd be like this coach we had, and we were comparing like one of our club coaches to one of our like high school coaches, and I'm like, I played better for my club coach than I ever played for my high school coach, even though I think my high school coach has better knowledge on the game. But my club coach always called me by my name, always asked me, how's your mother? How's your, like, knew everybody in my family's name and knew what was going on. And it goes back to that quote where it's like, they don't care. They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. That's why I always play better for the coaches that might not even have the knowledge, but just cared about me better. And like Dana, I think really had a good relationship with my twin and I, because I think he saw a lot of himself in Caroline and I and how much we pushed each other. So he was able to like maintain a good relationship with us because I think he saw, you would agree, Dana, you probably saw a little bit of that in Caroline and I.
Yeah, for sure. Like definitely saw some of like me and my brother and you too, because you were also like so like intrinsically motivated that like you didn't need someone to motivate you to work harder. You just needed someone to care about you, and that was it. Like, you were always going to work hard. Like I still remember, I was actually looking at the video. I was trying to find the video before we went on today. I still remember when you wrestled your sister in physics class in our wrestling unit, and like neither one of you wanted to give an inch. And it's like that's how you two live your life and everything though. And like you want to be the best player, but you also want to be the best friend and the best sister and the best daughter. And I think that's important. So like kids, like they just need support. It was the same thing when I was running the varsity program at Pembroke. It was like, yeah, I could teach them as much as I wanted about soccer, and that was definitely part of it. But they finally, after a few years of not being able to find one, like had a guy who like just cared about them. And Like, I can guarantee you that was more of a factor in our success than learning some ways to play the best way. It was just having a guy who supported him and cared about him.
Yeah.
100%.
Authenticity doesn't whisper, it screams.
Yeah. Ooh, I like that.
It does.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
You ever have a conversation, and I have these daily, and I bet you guys do too, being educators, being students, being friends. You're trying to talk all this information to somebody, and you got it all squared away, baby. You're prepared, like boom, boom, boom. Finally, you realize it's not hitting home, and you just start being compassionate and hitting something that really motivates them and brings their love and their spark out. And all of a sudden, they're like, Coach Pat, I get it. Pat, I get it. That's the difference. And I love that because it's so lost, right? Like the Belichicks, the Sabans of the world. Yeah, they're fantastic coaches, but they know how to get the best out of their players because they know they can't do it themselves.
That's exactly.
I think it's important to notice that every kid on your team is different. Like what worked for Caroline and Jackie and maybe didn't work for Carolyn Mullen or Meg Marcel or some of these other phenomenal players we had on our team. Just use like our team as an example, but there's no blanket way to get through to kids. Like my goal as a coach was always to find what every single kid was passionate about and cared about. And then those are the conversations I have with them and realizing that like this person needs to be motivated different from this person. And this person needs to be cared about in a different way than this person. And you can't look at a team of 30 and just say, this is what we're going to do. It's going to work.
Yeah.
Like that's 30 individuals. So like my goal is always try to, like I said, try to be like, get to them as an individual and then the individuals will lift up the team.
Yeah.
That's it.
And that's, no, that's for sure. That's as an educator, you know, you could have the best lesson plan in the world, but if the kids aren't feeling it that day, they're not going to learn anything.
Exactly.
So if you don't learn how to pivot in the moment, it's just not going to happen. Right. And you know, what subject do you teach, Dan?
So I teach health and phys ed.
Okay. So, you know, there's things you got to hit, but you may have a little bit more leeway, kind of like I do in the Spanish realm of, I kind of get to teach what I want, but that also makes it a little bit more up in the air.
Yeah.
So, you know, pivoting can be a little bit tougher sometimes. There's not just the next lesson to go to. You know, when you find yourself in a situation like that, when you find yourself in a frustrating situation of, okay, I'm not getting my point across. Maybe it's with your goalkeepers. Maybe it's with your kids in class. You know, what do you do to reset? What do you do to kind of get back on track?
So that was one thing I've honestly kind of struggled with in the past was like, I take little breaks now from it and kind of reset my mind. In the past, I always thought like to figure this out, I need to dive in deeper and I need to get more obsessed about it in that moment. But now it's almost gone to the point where it's like, let's say I don't have a great session on like a Thursday evening with the goalkeepers. It's like, I'm not even thinking about this till Saturday or Sunday. Like I'm off. I'm worried about other stuff. I'm going to go focus on me because there's nothing's going to come to it right after. Same thing with like watching films is a good example. I used to watch film like right after we played. Now I won't touch it for 24 hours because I want to little reset my mind. I want to look at stuff with a fresh view. And then honestly, the biggest thing I do is I ask for my players' feedback. Like I'll have them either fill out little things or just text me like, what do you think about the session? Pros and cons. What do you think about what I'm doing? Pros and cons. And I think just not having too much pride to realize that like, yeah, maybe the 17-year-old kid you're coaching right now does know more about what he needs you to do than you know what you need to do.
Yeah, especially at that age, they need that prompting, right? They need to see that they're allowed to give that feedback.
Exactly.
Because a lot of adults in their life may not have kind of prompted that before. It's kind of my road or the highway. Like, it's okay to communicate about what you need. Just make sure we're doing it in the correct way, and giving them that rope to kind of grab onto can be a good way of doing so. For sure. I love that, man. Yeah,
I'm actually planning on starting. You guys were part of me that kind of helped me kind of want to do this. I've always thought about it. And then the more I've talked to Jackie, I'm like, all right, this can be done. I'm going to start a podcast at my high school. It's going to be kind of helpful.
Dana, Jackie has that effect on people. I'm just going to let you know. Go ahead.
So I'm going to start a podcast at my school, and it's going to be kind of like health related, but really it's just going to be an opportunity for high school kids to have their voices heard because they're not often put in situations where they're really valued and listened to. So that's something I'm excited to get off the road. Maybe I'll have you guys make a guest appearance on it. And then
I would absolutely love that. And like I said, it's Jackie Tripp doing Jackie Tripp things. This is a surprise me. She actually, and I don't think I've ever told Jackie this. We had Madison on. She's a volleyball coach a couple episodes ago. And after her episode and like talking to all of us, she started doing one-on-one interview podcasts with her team, with her kids. And she sent me a Christmas card and a really nice message. And I love Madison. I love everything she represents. But she said she's never been closer with her players and her student athletes. And so I'll get you connected with her. She's kind of our guinea pig doing it at the college level. I think that's incredible.
Yeah, it's just everyone wants a voice, and I feel like that population is the ones who have kind of had their voices squashed the most, but are also on the front line of everything that's happening. So they're the ones that should actually be the loudest, and they're the ones that are told to be the quietest.
Yeah, and I want to speak on that, guys, if you don't mind. Jack, you go ahead first, and I'll jump into that.
No, just a quick thought on that too. I think it's good because, like, even if you had like, I think a podcast is great too because you could have high school kids go on and you could do like a feature like, oh, this is their quote of the week or whatever. But to dig in past the surface level on a podcast and give kids the opportunity to actually physically speak and sort of make them uncomfortable, but cause them to grow from it, and give them the chance to have that voice. I think that's awesome. I think you'll kill that, and we'll definitely listen and be a part of it anyway.
Oh,
yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Dana, I'd love for you to interview any of us. That's incredible, man. Whatever ways we can help, we're the people to ask. Because we started this how many episodes ago? We were so foreign to this. It was listen to the first couple episodes. You'll tell how brutal it was. It really was.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm trying to figure out how to do it all. So I got my little podcast planner notebook. I'm putting all the steps together and stuff, and I'm excited.
There you go.
But Luke, we just bought expensive mics and didn't do anything.
Love that.
$20.
You said
20 bucks.
Dive in, man, and figure out how to swim. You'll figure it out.
I love it, man. I love it. Stay there. And I'm just giving Luke crap. That was a $20 microphone. And we realized that we were just uncomfortable being in front of a screen. We had to be like kind of moving. So
that was weird. Yeah, that was weird at first.
Our cars were in airports. I did one in the Wendy's parking lot a couple episodes ago. We're always moving. But what I want to stay with, if you don't mind, is the student athlete side. Can you show your shirt real quick for the YouTube? Shameless plug for the YouTube, by the way, Luke.
Yeah, absolutely. Dana, give us a little clap or something so that it'll pop on screen.
Yeah, there it is. Nice. Love it. So we talk about ending the stigma, right? We talk about being a light for student athletes and everybody with mental health. Talk about what mental health means to you and what you're looking to do in that field.
So I think this is like what's interesting about it is that it can mean a lot of different things. To me, it's just about being comfortable with who you are and not changing for anybody. I think that's the massive part, is owning yourself, being comfortable with who you are, and not feeling like you need to adapt to society in any way, whether you're involved with it or not. And I think this is where, as great as social media is, I think this is where it's really kind of killed us as a society, is like everything's quantity over quality now. It's how many followers can I get? It's how many likes can I get? It's not how many true friends that do I have. They're going to pick up the phone at midnight if I need them to. And it's just, we've just lost our way of what it means to have a support group and what it means to be yourself. And everyone's trying to adapt. Like, it's a small example, but you see it with like these Stanley Cups. It's like a Stanley Cup popped up on a social media video, and now everybody has to have it. And it's just like a small, minute example, but everyone just wants to be part of everything else. And I think they're sacrificing themselves to do it. So that's my goal, is just get everyone okay with being themselves and not worrying about what everyone else thinks of them, and having some self-confidence, because that's always been what I struggled with most, is my self-confidence. Like, and I still am. Like, I never think I'm doing well enough, like, ever. And now I'm starting to get to the point where it's like, I don't care. Like, I don't care if I am doing well enough. I don't care if I think that other people think I'm doing a good job. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to put like kids first, and I'm going to do it. And if everything works out and everyone thinks I'm great, cool. If not, whatever. I'm at peace now, and I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah, 100%. Man, that's something I want to touch on with like the goalkeeper side of stuff, right? Like anytime you make a mistake, it's just so exacerbated, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a goal or not a goal. It's not. There's no in between.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with that with your athletes that you're coaching, man?
So the psychology is a huge part of it. And it's like the biggest thing that I found is, yes, getting them to understand it, but also if you have a team around you that supports the goalkeeper, then it's huge. Like,
Yeah.
The casual fan will look at it and be like, the goalkeeper didn't save the ball. And it's like, yeah, well, the ball went by 10 other people first.
Oh, it drives me crazy. Drives me crazy, man.
And it's like, people don't realize, I think, how hard it is in soccer to keep a ball this big out of a 24-foot
Yeah.
net. So the psychology is definitely different. It's a different world. And I'm starting to work on just like little mental tricks with some of my goalkeepers. Like one kid just like to stay focused in the game, just sings songs in his head. And that's like his way to make sure he's not losing focus if there is a big swing or a big game. Another one has like a little mantra he tells himself after every mistake that just kind of like resets his head. And a ton of it's just been like trial and error. Like did some research on it, read some stuff, but just kind of sat with people that I would coach with and what's your thing? Like, what's your thing that makes me happy? All right, you make a mistake,
Perfect.
bring yourself to the beach in your head. Just chill out for a second while everything resets. Like whatever it is. But I mean, I'm at the point now where like I think there needs to, and that especially at the college levels, like the NCAA needs to get involved and make like mandatory mental health professionals with every program. Like it has to be a thing now where there's no choice anymore. Like this has to be a focus. But I think coaches knowing their role in this would help a lot more as well.
Yeah, Jackie, what do you got?
I have a few things because this is just making me think of my sister obviously plays at the collegiate level, and I have a lot of friends that do. And I always say to her, if coaches were, if like we're so big on mental health for players, if coaches were trained on mental health too, I think a lot of these issues wouldn't be as bad because it starts from the top. Like I think even coaches sometimes are like, my players need to have good mental health. I'm like, well, you need to have it too, because I've seen coaches lose their crap in the middle of a game, and I'm like, well, they're getting mad about body language, but it starts from them. You know what I mean? And back to what you said, Dana, about people just need to be their self. I just pulled up this quote that I have that I always look back on because it reminded me of that. And it goes, I used to change myself because I didn't want to lose people. Now I don't change a thing because I don't want to lose myself.
Yeah. Love that. Everyone's like, and this has been my biggest issue. Like my whole life is like worried about like what other people think of me. Like I want people to think I'm good at this. I want people to think I'm good at that. And it's like my
100%.
athletes tell me that without even saying it. Like I don't need to care about what other adults think or what other people say and it was just such a distraction for me being successful at what I was trying to be. And as great as like everything was and as good of a job as I did, like my kids probably lost out because of it on some level. Because I was always so worried about like what everyone else thought about me or us and now kind of like that quote, Jackie, was awesome. Like that's getting to the point where I'm at. Like I want to do a good job because I want to, not because I want this person to know that I did a good job.
Yeah.
Just
and
because that's what I want my kids to get out of it.
Yeah, and I think I definitely noticed, like my mom always says, like there were points like with me too, where she's like, I could tell you weren't all there yourself. Like I could tell the like intentions weren't super clear. And I could tell with you, Dana, when you were a little bit like not there. Cause it's like it kind of just seemed like you were going through the motions, like I did this workout, I did this, and it's like you're always doing the right thing. But I think for a while, too, like you kind of lost sight of that. And I can definitely tell now that you're in a better space all around. Like, is there anything that you do on a daily basis or that I know moving made the transition easier, but is there anything you haven't touched on that helped you get to the headspace you're in now?
I've kind of segmented my day more, if that makes sense. Like, let's say I don't have a good day at work. Like, I do little things now to make sure that like that doesn't go into soccer practice. Or if I had a bad soccer practice, it doesn't mean I'm gonna go home and do nothing productive at night. I've like kind of broken up my day in my head more. Part of it's just being around good people too. But no, I just wake up and I kind of make sure I go through like a good little morning routine, whether it's a workout or just a little meditation or a little stretch or just a little kind of self reflection on we're gonna have a good day, like, and then I just go one step at a time, and I compartmentalize a little bit better. Like I now kind of live by the mode of like I'd rather take like consistent, small, slow steps than like sprint out to somewhere and crash, if that makes sense. Like I'm more worried about just like what the next step is instead of like what the next big thing is or what the end of the month looks like or what the end of the year is. It's just what's the next hour look like? What's the next thing I have to do today look like? What's my next step? And
yeah, that one's tough for me. My mind always wants to jump to the next big one,
big time,
instead of the next small. That's a tough one for me for sure.
Yeah.
I think that's well said, and I'm taking so many nuggets away from this. I know our listeners are gonna feel the same. in that same realm, I have to ask you, obviously we're the Keep Going podcast. We ask our guests every week kind of what got them to this space. Because Dana, I've known you for 30 minutes, man. I love who you are now. So I know that you're working on yourself. I know you've been through some stuff. Talk about your keep going moment. Something that should have broke you down and it didn't. You got to the other side.
So part of it was, so me and my ex-wife got divorced. That was definitely a big one where that one was interesting because like it was like as amicable a divorce as you can get. But then I almost had like late onset like issues from it. Like I thought I was fine after I kind of moved on to different stuff. And then like down the road, all of a sudden I was like a bad version of myself. So I almost wonder like if not getting, maybe I missed some closure in there somewhere or something I didn't get to say that I wish I did. But that was definitely part of it. But it was literally like, I was just such a bad version of myself. Like I was teaching all day and I was coaching all night, going 7 days a week. And then I was just going home and literally just laying on my couch and falling asleep on my couch. Like not even like making it like to my bed. And I'm like, my keep going moment was kind of like, it's now or never. Like if I don't do something right now, like this is going to get real bad. Like stuff around me was happening. Like I lost a couple people that I was close to, like a girl I coached and another person. And it's like as bad as it sounds, it's like I felt like I was almost heading in that direction. And I'm like, it was literally like a now or never moment. So just my support from my mom to just be like, dude, get down here. Like, don't care if you don't have a job yet. Just get down here and we'll figure it all out. And it's literally like, I think that moment, like, as weird as it sounds, like kind of saved my life was just pulling the trigger and getting down here. Cause I was on the surface, I looked great. Like I was still teaching really well. I was still coaching really well. Kids love me. Parents love me. And I just like hated myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a weird kind of spot to be in because everyone was telling me how great I was and how great I was doing and that their kids love me and this and that. And then I was going home and I just like hated everything about myself.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Dana, I could just be imagining this. You said single mom, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. I relate to this.
Yeah.
I do a lot, actually. I'm coming from a single mom household, and when I went through that stuff 3 years ago, I've shared on other episodes. I felt very similar.
Yeah.
I like everyone thought I was doing so well, and I came home, looked in the mirror, and I didn't want to do the same.
Yeah.
So I think it's powerful and vulnerable. One, I want to say a couple of things that you shared that today, because sometimes the outside exterior it's hiding internal pain.
And that's a good way to put it because that's exactly what it was. Like I'd work all day, I looked great. At soccer practice all day, I looked great. Everything was planned out well. I was super motivational, me that the kids loved and could relate to. And I was going home and I was just like, oh, like I had nothing, no passions. Yeah. I was just the worst possible version of myself.
You know what it is, and I've thought, I've journaled on this. I've thought about this. I'm a big music guy. We'll talk about Mike. I'll probably ask you about that in a little bit. Like the Eminem show, I believe it's the cover where like the curtains are up, right? It's just It's you're the man on stage for everybody else, and when you go behind the curtain, you're weak. You have nothing to give, and you just don't have it, right? I think it's powerful to see you now, man. Smile on your face, jumping on here on a Sunday, and I can tell you're working on yourself, and it's beautiful, man. And I tell you, and it sounds so mantra, so cliche. Keep going, man, because you have so much to give, but you have the most to give to yourself.
No, and I think that's a big part of this. Is why, like, I was waiting to the end to tell you guys this, but like, I hope you guys realize like how special you are and like how impactful what you're doing is, because like this is an avenue for me to come out and talk about this. And I think we always want people to like not be vulnerable and talk about their issues and things like that, but they also need avenues to do it. Like, look at like, I don't know how you guys met. I'm still interested in that, but it's like you three realized you cared about something and you just ran with it. And now because of that, like 70 or so people have gotten to come on here and share their stories and help others and talk about themselves. And it's a really powerful thing. So I know you guys probably realize this, but like, I hope you understand like how awesome what you're doing really is. Like, it's life-changing, man. It's awesome.
We've talked about that before with, it's always nice to hear people that aren't your family or like your close friends say it, because it feels a little bit more like an affirmation at that point. But we appreciate it, man. It takes guests like you and guests that really are vulnerable with their time and candid with their stories to even do this. So it's all about the guests, man. They really put their heart out there, and it's not an easy thing to do. People are going to be listening to it, and they still come on here and make an impact. So it's amazing the guests that we've had on for sure.
No, I appreciate it.
It's a blessing. It's a blessing to have an army. And you talked about your support group, and I'll key to Jackie. It's a blessing to have an army of people that have the same mind, the same intentions, the same dreams. Because when you feel like you're falling short, you leave. Jackie, go ahead.
This is like, you had me emotional during the keep going moment, because this is like full circle for me. I remember in like 6th grade health class, you were like the first health teacher I had that actually taught me about mental health. It wasn't like I remember like one of the first days of class, we did like SMART goal setting, and it's like we had to write down a goal we had for the year, and mine was like get on a roll. And it's like and you came over and you're like, but how are you going to get on a roll? Like, you can't just try and get it. And you told me, Dana, like, write down 5 ways I'm going to get it. Like, am I going to get, what class am I struggling with? How am I going to get extra help? And then we grew up being close. You coached me. I was at your wedding. I watched you at your lowest, and I kind of saw how that affected you. And I'm just so glad that I'm able to watch you at a high today and see that you're doing well and hear that you're doing well. And obviously you're down south now and I'm up here, but I just have so much love for you. And I'm just so happy to see you where you are right now today, and that you're able to be with your family, and that you like are doing what's best for you right now. And I'm sure you know how happy that makes me.
I appreciate that. Like, your family's always in my heart forever. So I'm probably coming back to Mass in June, actually. So we'll probably have to catch up. I'm coming back to see some people.
Now Jackie's making me emotional. Now I gotta cry on here. No.
Dana, I say this all the time. Like, we set these expectations for guests. We are booked out again until like the summertime. Awesome. And it's a great thing, right? But like, it's a great problem to have. We have so many awesome people. We set the bar so high. You've exceeded my expectations times 1,000 today, man. Who you are, what you represent, and how I can feel what you're saying, man. Stay in the industry and keep expanding in what you're doing, because you can make such an impact.
For sure, man. Like I said, like, thank you guys for having me. Like, this is, like I said, I know you know it, because you're just like, we need more people like you. Like, you're real people, you're good people. You care about doing what's right, and you're creating an avenue for so many other people to help themselves and help others. So, like I said, I hope you guys realize how special it is that you're doing this.
Dana, thank you,
man. We appreciate you.
Wrap up in 2 seconds here, but I got a couple rapid fire questions for you. Fine.
No, man.
All right. One is the personal one. I told you I was going to ask you. Favorite Mike song, MIKE. Favorite Mike song, go.
Oh, he did a song. I don't even remember the name of it. He did a song with this dude, Tariq. I'll send it to you. I got to find the name of it. It wasn't one of his, but he was on someone else's, and it was awesome. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
I'll be here. First and
it's
foremost,
on my phone, but my phone's off, so I don't have messages popping up and stuff on my computer. But I'll send you some
stuff. I'm here for it. Okay, you'll get us that. Appreciate that. Second thing, you had to tell yourself, younger Dana Powers, something about, at this point, saying to your younger self, as my Pepsi machine next to me kicks on, that was incredible.
You're good.
Something to your younger self at this point in time, Dana, what would you say?
Ooh, good question. Literally just don't worry about what other people think of you. Like, that's been my biggest thing my whole life. I've always been concerned about what other people think of me. And I always thought it was a good thing. Like, I want people to know I'm doing this. I want people to be aware I'm doing that. I want people to like me. And it's I don't think people realize, and I was talking to actually a kid on my soccer team about this the other day, like how much energy it takes to be negative and worry about what other people are thinking. Like, it takes so much effort, and it's exhausting. And if you can just wipe that off your plate and just go one step at a time and chase what you love, then God, man, it's such an easier life to live than worrying about what everyone else thinks the whole time.
Once again, I'll drop a cliche quote on you. Haven't heard any complaints yet. Wouldn't care if I did.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's it, man. You got to just live in that zone. It's a lot easier doing things that way. A lot easier said than done. Third and final thing, on behalf of the group, we've loved having you on the Keep Going podcast. We're going to have you back as you continue growing in your journey in your life. what can we do for you? You've taken 45 minutes of time. You were on a promotion. You've impacted so many lives. How can we help you, Dan?
Honestly, as far as helping me, just keep going, man. Just keep doing what you're doing. I think it'd be cool if you guys like had like teams on here almost. Like not necessarily like 30 kids, but like if you had like 3 teammates on here that could talk about like how they help each other and what they look out for with each other and stuff. And then I mean, you guys, I'm gonna keep looking at more of them, but I've watched some of them. You guys are nailing it. Like I don't want to make this about me as much, but just keep giving avenues, like keep in touch. I think it'll be really awesome for us four to keep in touch after this, and then just keep talking about it. Because I mean, one of the craziest, like you always hear, especially with coaches, like they always talk about the game is 80% mental and the game is 90% mental, and then all their time is spent on the 10 and 20% physical part. Yep. So it's like on one hand, everyone's preaching that this is important, and there aren't enough people actually paying attention to the most important part. So that's where you guys come in and you're crushing it. So just what you can do for me is just keep going.
Hey, man, we appreciate that. We're another humble guest, another humble response to that question.
All right. Well, Jackie, since this is your guest, you can sign us off, girl. We appreciate you. And Jackie's been amazing, Dana, since she's been with.
She's awesome. Really...
Thank you. Appreciate you. All right.
Talk about a kid who doesn't care what other people think and just follows her heart, man. That's the walking example of it right there.
Hey, it took me a while, but we're here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Above all else, keep going, guys. Love you guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you, guys. Love you guys.
Love y'all.